So last week, Troy gave a great teaching on romantic relationships and kind of what that looks like, having a godly relationship and things like that. So tonight we'll look at friendship relationships, none of the kissy smoochy stuff, just friendship relationships tonight. So the first thing I want to start off with talking about is friendships are blessings to us. They're designed by God. They are good and healthy. It's great for us to have friends, even best friends. It's very biblical. We are encouraged to have friends, and I'm not talking about Facebook, right? That has to be brought up just because of the whole friend request and be my friend and all that stuff. I looked on my Facebook, and I have 573 friends. And I did not know I had that many. I really only know less than half of them. A lot of them are just friends of friends, people that requested me, and I just felt very loving in the moment, accepted, not a big deal. But those type of friends have no, I don't want to say importance, but they have no real bearing on my life, having over 500 friends, or less than 500 friends, or over 1,000 friends. That really has no importance in our life, how many online friends you have. That's not how we gauge our friends. That's not how we look at friendships. Tonight we're talking about real friendships, real face-to-face interaction, getting into each other's lives, friendships. Can the reading roll please read Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12? It's talking about having a friend there, where if one falls, he has a friend to help him up. If one is cold, he can have a friend to keep him warm. I don't know many Facebook friends that I would snuggle with on a cold camping trip or anything, but that's what it's talking about. Is having a true friend there to be next to you, to help you out. And in order to kind of consider someone a friend, you have to know them. Can someone please read Proverbs 18:24?
One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother.
Thank you. My ESV version says a man who has many companions. So unreliable friend is that translation. Mine says companions. The point is that we are meant to have more than acquaintances, more than companions, more than just people that we know. In high school, I knew almost everyone in my school. My school was pretty small. It was about 400 students, freshman through senior. But I knew almost everyone's name. I knew their face. But I really only had a close group of about 4 friends that I would really consider friends that were close to me, right? I had a lot of companions, a lot of people that I knew in class or throughout high school, but I really only had a small group of friends. And tonight, we're going to talk about quality of friends over quantity. of friends. And, you can know everyone, but not really know anyone. And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So getting into that, the next point we're going to look at is friendships are different. Okay, friendships are different. And I had a really hard time wording this. I'm hoping the explanation will kind of reveal itself. But we're going to look at some of Jesus's friendships and relationships, and looking at just Jesus' life. He had a lot of friends. He had some friends that were closer than others, and that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at his friends, Luke 10:1, his close friends, Luke 6:13, and then his closest friends, Matthew 17:1. I'll give the reading row an opportunity to look ahead.
After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go.
When the morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves.
So in the first example, Jesus picks out 72 other guys, and it's not clearly stated that they were his friends, but they were at least his acquaintances. They at least knew him. They trusted him enough to go out ahead of him and do his work. In the next example, in Luke, he had his close friends, the 12 disciples, right? They spent time with him a lot. He taught them. He ministered to them. He spent a lot of his time with them. And then beyond that, he had his closest friends. He had Peter, James, and John. In this example, he was taking them up the mountain for the Transfiguration, which was a big part of Jesus' life, and he wanted to share that with those 3. So Jesus had his 3 closest friends, his group of 12 friends, and then 72 acquaintance, companion kind of friends. And you guys might not be old enough, but MySpace, yeah. MySpace was before Facebook, and I got into more trouble with the whole ranking of the friends thing than I think anyone else, right? So here, Jesus is not ranking his friends. His top 3 isn't Peter, James, and John, and then he's got a top 12 of his other disciples. It's not a point system. It's not ranking your friends and things like that. But there is kind of levels of commitment that you have with friends. Some are closer than others, and that's totally okay. You don't have to limit it to 3 close friends and a group of 12 friends. It's just kind of your perspective on your friends. You have to be open to differences in friendship, but it's about knowing who you can trust with information and things like that. And you develop friendships in different ways. But the point was just to show that you can be closer with some friends than other friends, and it's not wrong. With that being said, gender can play a huge role in friendships. Guys and girls can be friends. Girls can have a different perspective on things. As a guy, just speaking from experience, there have been female friends who have offered a lot of good insight into things in my life, and that can be very helpful. But with this, we really have to be cautious of being close friends with the opposite gender, right? Feelings can get involved. This can cause some tension. It can be complicated, as they say. There's always exceptions, but I just want to warn us of the, dangers or pitfalls of having a very close relationship with someone of the opposite gender. It's not wrong to do so, but like I said, we have to be cautious. I know in high school, I talked about knowing a lot of people and having a close group of guy friends, but I also had a close group of girlfriends that was just bad. It ended poorly because of just feelings in high school, pretty much. You get a crush on someone and you tell them, and then their friend tells this person, and it was just, I wish I would have known this in high school, to just be cautious with who you get close with from the opposite gender. Jesus also had plenty of friends that were girls, not girlfriends, but friends that were girls. He kind of knew where his boundaries were with being friends with them, with traveling with them, and spending time with them. The next point that I want to talk about is true friendship is from God. Right? True friendship is from God. In men's fraternity, last week we actually learned about the friend face of manhood. And it really talked about having a connection with others, connected to other people, other men. And this goes for women as well. True friendship is characterized by loyalty, accountability, encouragement, challenge, and fun. Can the reading roll please read Proverbs 17:17?
A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity.
Right, so it's talking about a true friend loves at all times, right? No matter what the situation, a true friend is there in adversity, when trouble is in your life, or even theirs. They're a true friend. They're always there for you. But in order to have that closeness, to have that true friend, you have to be vulnerable. It's got to be a real relationship. And guys, I know that sounds scary, but being real friends with someone it's worth the awkward, vulnerable part that you kind of have to go through. 1 Samuel 18, the whole chapter, it talks about David and Jonathan being friends, which is a really great example. Some of the words used in there, it says that their souls were knit together. I mean, that's pretty deep, bro. That's really deep. It talks about Jonathan loved David as his own soul. It gives examples of Jonathan giving up his armor, giving up his sword to David. Eventually, Jonathan gave up his right to the throne, right? Jonathan was next in line after King Saul to be king of Israel. But Jonathan understood God's plan for David. They were such great friends that he didn't let that ruin their friendship. He saved David's life a number of times. That's a great example of a true, deep relationship. Putting the other person first. We are meant to have deep relationships as people. We are meant to breathe life into each other, right? Not suck it out. Fall retreat, right? Here's the weekly fall retreat promotion. Fall retreat is a great opportunity to do that, to build Christian friends, to spend time with people, to get to know them, to just, you've got a 2.5-hour ride up there. You can only talk about one topic for so long. It's good to get into people's lives and to get to know them, to really care about them and show them that you care. And the question that you should ask yourself is, would you be friends with you? That was brought up at men's fraternity, and it's a really thought-provoking question. It's, looking at your life, would you be friends with yourself? And you really have to be honest. You can't be like, yeah, I'd totally be friends with you because I'm awesome. Think about it. When you're with your friends, are you really caring for your friends, or are you kind of being like the leech? Are you always taking the last piece of pizza? Are you always putting down your friends, saying they suck or saying they're dumb or something? Are you, dishonest? Do you steal things? Are you always negative? Right? You really have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself those questions. Would you be friends with you? And you might even have some friends that kind of have those behaviors of kind of being the leech and being the negative guy. I experienced a time in my life where I did have some roommates that were like that I thought were friends. They were not always, they were my friends because I didn't think I had any other friends. My thought process was, these friends are better than no friends. And that's not really a good thing to think. If you do think that, it's time to make a change. Which brings me to our next topic. Bad friendships are real, right? They really exist. Like when you look into someone else's life and see a bad friend, and you might try to tell them like, hey, this person's not good for you, they're hurting you, they're bad. Looking in from the outside, or looking in from the outside, yeah. But we have to be in tune with that in our own lives. Being friends with someone like that can really hurt you. Yes, we're supposed to love our neighbor and be friendly towards people, but we don't have to be friends with people that hurt us, right? It's okay to cut ties with bad relationships. Toxic relationships do more harm than good. And they might not be bad people, but maybe their relationship is bad. Maybe it's just bad for you, the way that they treat you or the way that they're acting towards you. So you really have to, I guess, gauge the relationship. Are they making me a better person, and am I making them a better person? That's a good question to ask yourself, and it really does go both ways. If people are pouring into you, right, breathing life into you, but you're not breathing life into them, then you might kind of be that leech that just takes everyone's energy and just sucks it out of them. And if you're on the other side of that and you're always breathing into someone else's life and they're not really benefiting from it or not really doing anything positive with that, then maybe it's time to put your energies into someone else. Put your energies somewhere else. Can the reading roll please read 1 Corinthians 15:33?
Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character.
It's very interesting. When I read that, the bad company corrupts good character part is in quotation. So I had to do some research, of course, and find the context and all that. And Paul is actually quoting a play from that time period that the readers would know. And the play is called Menander's Comedy, Thais. And I went and kind of looked at the play. And long story short, it's just about this city who was good and rich, very wealthy, and this new leader comes in, and she's evil, and she corrupts the whole city and turns them bad. That's the idea of the play. But it's very interesting to me that Paul would quote this from something that his readers would know. It was a common saying, it was a common phrase in that time, and it still holds weight today. Paul was talking to the church about people coming in and trying to change the idea of baptism. And he's saying these people are bad, and because they've come in with these bad ideas, they're corrupting your good morals. They're corrupting your good character. Our friends influence us more than we'd like to admit. When I was a kid, I had a cousin who always got me into trouble. Regardless of what we were doing, we always got into trouble. And my mom said that I was the best kid ever until my cousin came around. I can remember one time we were at my grandma's, and her neighbor next door left his garage door open, and he had this big 55-gallon drum of oil, and we decided to take leaves and sticks and turn it into soup, because it was just a big drum full of liquid. So we put leaves in it and flowers, and we made a big bowl of soup. And we got into so much trouble, but I remember my mom saying, if Anthony wasn't here, you wouldn't do that. You have got to be smarter than him. Because I would make really good decisions around everyone except my cousin. For some reason, he would always say, let's do something dumb and get me into trouble. I remember another time we had our BB guns and we were shooting pop cans behind my barn. And then the next thing I remember, we shot out all the windows in my barn. I don't know. That just makes no sense to me how that happened. But we got into so much trouble doing that too. And, you know, there's a point where you can only blame someone so many times. Like, I just should have been smarter than that. But I wasn't. Because bad company ruins good morals. I'm not blaming him. It's not all his fault. I should have, been wise enough to say no. And oddly enough, that cousin is the same cousin that I talked about last message with the didgeridoo thing. He's just a rebel. That's just his character. But now I know that when I hang out with him, we can't do dumb things. Yes, can the reading rope please read Matthew 18, 7 through 8?
Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to sin. Such things must come, but woe to the man through whom they come. If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire.
So Jesus is talking about cutting off things that cause you to stumble, right? Cutting out those bad influences in your life. Distance is okay if it means that you're not falling into sin, falling into temptation because of other people's leading you in that direction. A lot of times we can see more clearly without others speaking lies and sin and temptation into our lives. The next point that I want to talk about, after talking about this point, is it's okay to have friendships with unbelievers, right? We're actually encouraged to have friendships with unbelievers. Jesus did it, right? Jesus was known for it, and a lot of people didn't like him for that. Can the reading roll please read Luke 5, 27 through 32?
After this, Jesus went out and saw a tax collector by the name of Levi sitting at his tax booth. "Follow me," Jesus said to him, and Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. Then Levi held a great banquet for Jesus at his house, and a large crowd of tax collectors and others were eating with them. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law who belonged to their sect complained to his disciples, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus answered them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners to repentance."
I really like Jesus' response, right? It's not the healthy that need a doctor. I mean, that's just like a duh statement to the Pharisees. And that's just the way Jesus spoke, which is so great. He spoke grace and truth into sinners' lives, right? He spent time with them. He invited them to fellowship over food. He really cared enough about them to spend time with them, because he knew the importance of the life that they were living, and that he needed to be in their lives to help them, to minister to them. But he didn't spend all his time with them, right? He lived life with them for moments in time, but most of his time was spent with his true friends, with his disciples. And, it talked about the Pharisees really just getting so mad at Jesus for doing things like this, for spending time with sinners and being friends with them. And the Pharisees' philosophy was always change and you can be friends with us. Change and you can join us. Change and you can, be around us. Jesus said the opposite. He always said, be friends with me, join me, spend time with me, and you will change. And that's kind of the mindset that we have to have when living with unbelievers. We can share life with them, we can be friends with them and spend time with them, but we also have to be cautious at the same time. We do have to keep a little bit of distance, but the best way to witness to someone is to just share life with them. We can't make people our projects to save. We can't think of them as work to be done. We can't change people, but we can show them what a changed life looks like, right? We can tell them about Jesus. We can go over the gospel with them, but we can't change people, right? The Holy Spirit has to be there to change people. But we should be friends just for the sake of being friends, right? We should care for them because we want to, not because we feel like we have to. And we should stay friends with them even if they don't accept the gospel, right? We should respect their choices, but just because they don't believe what we believe doesn't mean we, push them aside and reject them. So God has blessed us with many relationships, with friendships, both the fun and challenging parts. God designed friendships to reflect and honor Him. And the last verse that I want to leave you with is just a very, very profound idea when looking at it. Can the reading roll please read Proverbs 27:17?
As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another.
I've got a little demonstration. Yes, I brought a knife to school. Okay. This is steel, and this is steel, right? Both contain iron, so both are kind of applicable. I really like that verse, as iron sharpens iron, right? It's two hard materials that when you rub them together, when they're in contact, when they, brush up against each other, they can become sharp, right? Whether you're the one doing the sharpening or the one being sharpened, both are needed in order to benefit the other. And one way you can tell it's sharp, right? You don't run it on your finger, you run it on your nail, and if it peels off on your nail, and it's sharp, so catch. Just kidding. But, okay, if this was made of plastic, this wouldn't work, right? It's got to be two hard, strong materials in order for this to work. And, yeah, it's good stuff, though. I mean, it's really applicable, as iron sharpens iron. I'm going to pray, and we'll conclude.